Alistair Lyle, last year, 4th in the championship. The previous season, the runner-up, taking pole position for the opening race of the championship from the man who beat him on points last year, Nick Carr. He starts on the outside of row 2. The man who was the championship runner-up is in the pits, though. Jamie Hunter changing tyres. Last-minute gamble as he goes on to slicks. Everyone else starting on wet tyres, including Aussie Neil Cunningham, who also races the Viper in the GT Series. Well, a gamble to slicks may turn out to be a losing gamble for Jamie Hunter. He won his first ever MGF race in appalling conditions in the rain at Silverstone. It may not rain yet, but it still could do. Away they go, the pale blue car of Alistair Lyle. Nick Carr right behind him, and already Cunningham in the middle of action there as David Mason gets sideways in the number 18 machine. Cunningham in 3rd place, running down to the complex for the first time, looking down the inside of Nick Carr. Oh, he's late on the brakes, he's across the grass, Cunningham's lost it, spins across the nose of the pack. Will this be a disaster? Susie Hart-Banks in the midfield, dives into the left-hander. Oh, a thump there, who was that? That was Vince Martin, car number 16. Well, Neil Cunningham managed to stop the car before he shot into the middle of the pack again through the complex, and out into the country they go. So it's Lyle, Carr, Brian Heary in 3rd place, David Mason in 4th. And down a spot in 8th position is Susie Hart-Banks, raced in the championship 2 years ago, making her return. And the car's very different now, much lighter and more powerful than they were in the inaugural year of the MGF Cup. So she'll take a race or so to settle in. There is the Aussie, Neil Cunningham, right at the back of the field and with plenty of work to do. Brian Heary on the move, down the inside of Nick Carr in car number 99. He goes past. Can he hold it together? Yes, he does. He's 2nd, Carr in 3rd, Mason in 4th place, Paul O'Neill, Barry Benham, Mark Ticehurst, Vince Martin, and the rest of them streaming through there. There's car number 2, Jamie Hunter, starting to pick up places. Replay with Alistair Lyle into the complex the first time, and Neil Cunningham flies across his nose. Alistair Lyle must have been slightly perturbed to see that one. Luckily, no trouble for anybody else. David Mason now on the left-hand side of the shot, coming down the inside of Nick Carr. Carr on the brakes earlier, Mason on the brakes slightly later. The nose just dipping down a fraction after Carr gets up the inside. Another classic Thruxton chicane move. Jamie Hunter in the chicane, two-wheeling. Paul Hughes behind him, so he's now up into 10th place. He's chasing Susie Hart-Banks. Vince Martin there as well. Is this going to turn into 3 abreast? Well, possibly. Jamie Hunter down the inside, Susie just in front of him, riding with Susie Hart-Banks now. Vince Martin ahead of us, and the wipers on, still very wet there, and it looks though the gamble onto slicks means a very, very tough early section of the race for Jamie Hunter. Susie Hart-Banks using the racing line all the way through the complex there. Vince Martin right ahead of her, that's the blue car in the right-hand side of the shot. Then Susie, then Jamie Hunter right behind. Well, the wipers are on for the spray, but Jamie Hunter still lining up a move here at Noble. Gets past, and there he goes, right ahead of us as we ride again on board with Susie Hart-Banks. Alistair Lyle still leading from Brian Heary, Mason, Carr. Oh, and Mark Ticehurst, that's Jamie Hunter's teammate, he goes off. I wonder if he was on slicks as well. I don't think so. Only Jamie Hunter coming in at the end of the warm-up lap for that last-minute gamble. Well, Lyle with Brian Heary all over the back of him. And a frantic battle for the race lead now. Brian Heary showing Alistair Lyle his nose all the way round. Alistair Lyle not likely to be unsettled by that. Very experienced one-lane racer. Well, Lyle's still ahead. Heary will have to try something quite impressive. Goes around the outside into Campbell. He's got the inside for the left-hander at Cobb, but he didn't have the momentum. So into the right-hander at Seagrave. It's still Lyle by about half a bumper's width from Brian Heary. David Mason still in 3rd place. Oh, and who's that? Annie Templeton spins out at the complex. She's waiting for somebody else to go by. There she goes, back into the race. Neil Cunningham still trying to work his way up the order. Having a little bit of a lonely race there down towards the tail of the field. Oh, Paul Hughes spins off. That's about where Mark Ticehurst went off as well. Neil Cunningham in 11th place at the moment. And Hunter is now ahead of Carr. That's for 4th place. Jamie Hunter with the indicators knocked on in his frantic twiddling of the wheel, working his way up the order. He is in fact turning right here, but then it would be a massive accident if he didn't. Jamie Hunter's gamble seems to be working in his favour. The track's still very wet though. And the sky's still fairly leaden. Susie Hartbanks in the middle of this group. Neil Cunningham there in the orange machine. Clinton Ogborn right behind him. Ogborn having a look up the inside. Neil Cunningham on board camera right down there in the spray. Barry Benham right ahead, and Clinton Ogborn goes by as well. I bet Cunningham wishes he had some of the power from his Chrysler Viper under his right foot right now, as the rest of them start to pull away from him. Looks as though he may be slowing. He might have a bit of a problem, maybe a legacy of that first lap spin. Well, now Alistair Lyle with some breathing space, hasn't he, over Brian Heary, and I think Brian Heary's starting to look behind him a little bit towards David Mason in his mirrors. Mason is certainly closing. Susie Hartbanks chasing Paul O'Neill. O'Neill in his second year in MGFs. And Susie under real pressure from behind. Barry Benham going tight on the inside, runs around the outside, and is Susie slows coming out of the corner. Barry Benham gets the move, and Clinton Ogborn goes around the outside of both of them up to, well, goodness me, right on the edge of adhesion, and up to the edge of the circuit he came there as they start to climb the hill. Clinton Ogborn with the momentum advantage, running really wide through the corner, well off the normal racing line, but it worked for him there, and he gets past Barry Benham as well. Now he is right with Paul O'Neill, and the brother of Sporty Spice had better watch his mirrors. And Susie Hartbanks shuffled to the tail of that group, and Neil Cunningham up to the chicane, very slowly indeed. Looks as though he is motoring round to the pits. Mechanical problems striking the Aussie on his opening foray into the MGF Cup. Well, as for Jamie Hunter, he's had a very, very impressive race up through the field, now challenging David Mason for third place in the spray. Right ahead of him in second place now is the 99 car. And Jamie Hunter is looking all around the back of Brian Heary. Over the curbs he goes. He seems to have plenty of grip on those slick tyres. Right with Heary, Alistair Lyle runs wide on the exit. Heary guards the inside line from Jamie Hunter, but not enough. Hunter speeds past. Now they're almost wheel to wheel, but Jamie Hunter can hold that inside line. Further back, Susie Hartbanks with Clinton Ogborn once more. And Clinton, all over the curbs on the inside. Couldn't quite hold it together there. 2x2 into the braking area works, but if one of you hasn't got supremacy, by the time you turn into the chicane, it almost inevitably ends in tears. So Lyle leads from Hunter. Heary in third place, David Mason in fourth. It's really between... Oh, Heary! Into the barriers, a very big impact. Brian Heary, unbelievably, straight off at Noble, slams into the barriers. Oh dear, well that was a nasty looking accident. The lead four now down to just three. Alistair Lyle with Jamie Hunter tailing him closely. Brian Heary, help from the car, looks to be perfectly okay. I bet that rattled his fillings though. Look, here he is on the grass. Oof. Everything locked up, no chance at all of slowing down. Wet grass like sheet ice to racing tyres. Well, closing right down on the leader now, Jamie Hunter tries a move at the chicane, gets in too deep though. He may only just hold on to it. He does, ahead of David Mason. Breathing space once more for Alistair Lyle, but Jamie Hunter is certainly going to get Lyle in the next few laps if he can. Oh, red lights. Red lights are on. The race is being stopped, and that surely is for Brian Heary's accident. The leaders with their arms out of the cockpit, they've seen the red lights, acknowledging the signal. They're slowing right down. The race is over. Alistair Lyle then declared the winner by a narrow margin from the quickest man on the racetrack, Jamie Hunter, ahead of Mason, Carr, Martin and Hartbanks. But let's hear now from our delighted winner, Alistair Lyle.
I was nearly wiped out at the complex on the first lap. I was braking, just waiting to turn right into the complex. Spotted a bit of red on the mirror out the corner of my eye, and Neil Cunningham was all locked up, completely out of shape, coming at me at about 90 miles an hour on the grass.